It all starts during the Saiyan Civil War and Yamoshi's Super Saiyan God ritual thing. Instead of losing his power and getting dominated by the rogue Saiyans, he actually managed to defeat the evil before his power ran out. He was known as a savior of his people, and many rogues have joined the good side, becoming protectors of the universe instead of mass murderers and planet conquerors. Meanwhile, in Universe 6, some rogue Saiyans have decided to waste the planet and managed to do so, but at the cost of that planet, so they had no choice but to move planets. So now they have Planet Vegeta, or Planet Kaba, or whatever, gaining their reputation as conquerors. They have decided to live their own lives as murderers and eventually partnered with Frost after a while, making a pact between each other. Over time, they have done a couple errands for Frost and have helped save the planets and getting a profit off of it, or better yet, the whole planet to rule over, among many other prizes. Meanwhile, the Vegeta lineup continued yet again, with Vegeta the Third, and he has lived his life well as a prince, until he became king and King Cold came around. He knew he was up to no good and declined his offers. That forced them to move from planet Sadala real quickly, right after Cold's leaving, going undercover for the most part. They still saved planets, but took low-risk jobs, basically jobs which won't expose them. Vegeta the Third had a child, and his name was Vegeta the Fourth. He was born quite strong and was King's pride and joy, looking forward to the new almighty king. However, Broly was born too, and his power level exceeded the prince's. The king paid more attention to Broly and made him the future Saiyan for the royalty due to his massive power level. Kakarot was born too, as well as Tarble, and his power was not much, but Bardock, his father, went ahead and trained the kid to become pretty powerful by the time he is 5. That made Vegeta hang out with Kakarot, forming a brotherly bond eventually. Sadly, Cold found them again and threatened to blow their planet up if they do not obey. Despite all the things Cold gave them for potentially joining him, they declined the offer. Cold then introduced his son, Frieza. He tried convincing the Saiyans to join them, but to no avail, claiming they have a Saiyan pride and they won't do it for a lifetime. Prince Vegeta's mother knew what was up and forwarded it all to Bardock, who made up a plan. If nothing succeeds, they will send their offsprings and themselves to Earth, a low-level planet with pretty much really low power level. Frieza powered up a ball to destroy the planet. They knew they gotta work fast. They knew the Frieza Force relies on scouters to read power levels and that they could easily cheat the system. So Bardock went ahead and created a smoke screen to let everyone escape. Once most of the Saiyans got to their pods, they used one pod for 2 people, and they started departing. Once they did so, Frieza and Cold tried taking their pods down, and while they did succeed to destroy a couple flying pods, they haven't managed to catch up to them as they were left pretty much instantly. The whole 200 or something Saiyans decided to settle on Earth. Over there, Kami visited them in concerns that they might be the conquerors he predicted, but it's the complete opposite. They wanted to have a separated civilization from the residents of this planet. Vegeta is mad at Frieza and is hoping to reach the Super Saiyan of Legend soon and teach the rest of the Saiyans it so they can actually take down Frieza for good, knowing of the Super Saiyan God and initially the ritual, so they can finally take back planet Sadala. So he is researching for that time being. They made small huts at first, then expanded, so much that humans intervened into their city and started questioning them. The Saiyans were quite welcoming regardless, not having them getting involved in the first place. Furry, the king of the world, has made an agreement with the Saiyans. By the time they made an agreement, however, some Saiyans already left planet Earth to go somewhere else, with no races on there, and try surviving there, being quite happy with their new setup. Vegeta wanted to take revenge right that second, but he needed a Super Saiyan God, knowing Broly is the strongest. Kami reached them and warned them that in 10 years, Earth will become compromised by some space tyrant. The king knew right away that it's Frieza and asked of Kami to help them to train for him somehow. Kami suggested a time chamber, but they needed a way to get Super Saiyan. Kami doesn't know of the form much, but he knows that it actually exists from the Namekian book, so he told them so. In the end, King Vegeta accepted Kami's offer. He took the three strongest Saiyans, being him, Bardock, Broly, and his son Prince Vegeta. Once they got there, they briefly meet Mr. Popo and find out that society is quite calm for the most part. Since the prince knew of all the plans, he decided to train with Bardock, while the king took Broly in to train him for Super Saiyan. First to go in are King Vegeta and Broly, and they both failed, even after 2 years. After a failed attempt, Bardock and the prince then went in. Prince thought that with his knowledge of the form, he's gonna be able to achieve it, but it was actually Bardock that managed to do it, considering these Saiyans are actually good-mannered. Learning from it, Vegeta advised Bardock on how to control it and went to town getting it himself. The first few attempts failed, but eventually he did it after 4 months of trying. They eventually came out and the king was sad that they didn't manage it either, until they both transformed, making the king cry from joy, saying they knew they'd manage it eventually. Getting right to it, they began training so almost every Saiyan capable of transforming becomes a Super Saiyan. One problem with Broly though, he loses his control when going Super Saiyan. King Vegeta is a bit disappointed that the strongest fighter might not be able to defeat Frieza, so they're going for the second strongest, which is Bardock. They, however, wasted barely a month in total outside of Time Chamber for the Saiyans to get Super Saiyan. So they gotta wait another 9 years and 11 or so months to prepare. In the meantime, King Piccolo managed to get free and started trashing the earth. And this is where Roshi and Krillin get introduced, trying to beat the Namekian, but they fail miserably. Knowing the Saiyans are all about fighting, they appoint them to beat King Piccolo. Bardock, wanting to get his son Raditz to do something in his life for once, goes and tells him to beat this Piccolo, which he goes to do with pleasure. Raditz gets there and completely obliterates Piccolo with only one punch through the stomach. King Piccolo spat out an egg and died in place. Raditz returned back and told everyone the threat has been neutralized. Roshi and Krillin then enter their premises and knock on the door. Gine answers but gets a bit defensive, knowing that's humans and not fully trusting them yet. Roshi says they come in peace and trying his best to not get his sus get the better of him. He explains that they couldn't beat Piccolo, but their family member did, attempting to ask to train them. Raditz came out to see the commotion and remembered that these people were there while he was picking King Piccolo apart. Kakarot also came out and saw Krillin. Krillin was on guard until Kakarot went up to him to hang out with him. They came along quite fast. Gine, seeing that Kakarot is getting along with the Earthlings as well as Raditz, decides to ask Bardock. Bardock is for that idea all the way, so with that, Gine accepted Roshi's proposal. Roshi though couldn't help but drool over Gine, receiving a slap across his face, slamming him in the shed. Krillin then had to explain that Roshi is a very sus fella. And with that, Kakarot, Krillin, Roshi, and Raditz went to train at the Kame House. At Kame House, they began training right away. Raditz and Kakarot shared some tips and tricks for both Krillin and Roshi to become stronger, while Roshi taught the Saiyans some techniques, including the Kamehameha, which they managed to do on their first try, almost perfectly honed even. In that 1 year, they got to the point where they got pretty powerful, still being weaker than a prince, but rich with techniques, which can give them a higher advantage over him. Meanwhile, Krillin is about 6 times stronger at this point of the story and is more than ready for the Tenkaichi Budokai. Once at the tournament, they all get ready, with Roshi becoming Jackie Chun to test them. Being a bit more rough, hence remembering who they are, the Saiyans breeze through the matches, even surpassing their own master. The finals, however, were Raditz and Goku, and that went pretty eventful as both had loads of tricks up their sleeves. Being an older brother, Raditz was just a bit stronger, but Kakarot had more techniques, managing to pick up the electrifying technique from Roshi a couple battles prior, managing to lock Raditz in place, damaging him quite a lot and almost knocking him out. Raditz, although pretty scuffed, had energy left to fire a Kamehameha in the sky, bending it right towards the ground on Kakarot. Kakarot was literally in the arena ground as Raditz dealt with the finishing blow, almost winning. And again, Kakarot stood right back up and really beat up, did the deciding fisticuffs with his brother. It ended with two-way knockout and was up to one of them to stand up in those 10 seconds and claim their victory. Raditz was barely breathing, having the electrifying technique taking its toll on his body, so that left Kakarot the lone one to survive and claimed his victory. Raditz was sent to the hospital to heal his wounds. He was badly injured, with a cracked skull, 5 broken ribs, both arms broken, and internal bleeding. Kakarot was told his brother won't survive more than a day like this, but after 5 days, Raditz began to speak and has already healed a quarter of the way there. After 3 weeks, Raditz was sent home. Kakarot was kinda sad that he got all that prize money and pretty much destroyed his brother, so he paid his medical bills and split the remains in half, which pleased Raditz as he was more than thankful. Raditz, however, actually surpassed every Saiyan in their small society, due to him literally being on the blink of his life as he got a Super Zenkai. Raditz couldn't believe his own power and was noticed not only as the strongest Saiyan there is, but also the most important, as he figured the whole Zenkai secret, which everyone began exploiting in a way. After 3 years, the Saiyans realized the Super Saiyan form is only a multiplier of their real power, and now knew they were on the right path. Broly now gained control of his Super Saiyan and actually unlocked his true form. But that form was quite uncontrollable, so he kept it to only Super Saiyan. Some of the Saiyans have formed their own path and had a solid career in their Earthling world, being known as the Earth Defenders. One day, Kami came up to the Saiyans, bringing them bad news about Frieza arriving sooner than predicted, which gave them an uneasy feeling. When the prince asked how long, Kami replied less than a week, which got them really scared, and they began preparing for Frieza. They asked Kami if they can use the chamber again, but Kami replied they already used every drop of their time in there back then. Now, honest to God, shitting their pants, they did the best they could to prepare and have formed every scenario, coming up with a couple of plans for each one. A week later, Frieza arrives in the outskirts, much like Kami predicted, and the Saiyans were waiting for him at the location already. Frieza was unpleasant seeing the Saiyans and began his killing spree, but he stopped when every Saiyan transformed, and I mean each and every one of them. That took Frieza aback, thinking back in the day, asking himself if they had this power all along. King Vegeta took the tyrant on that instant, but out came King Cold. Broly already took his first steps towards the second tyrant, already getting angry and exploding with a massive green aura. He became the legendary Super Saiyan, of course. The battles began and Frieza had to go in his final form right from the start to even keep up with the Saiyan. Now the Saiyan was overpowered, so Prince Vegeta and Bardock joined in on the fun to tearing Frieza apart, while Frieza at his 100% had no chance. Meanwhile, King Cold was already powered up all the way, and Broly used only a little chunk of his power and tore down King Cold with no remorse. However, Broly couldn't calm down and went for Frieza. The other Saiyans quit fighting and just observed. Frieza then did what they feared of. Frieza threw a death ball towards Earth, and they were too late to stop it while Broly was taking his anger on Frieza. After Broly killed Frieza, he cooled down with no memory of what happened. The prince just said they gotta evacuate as soon as possible. Kami told them of Namek and their Dragon Balls, which can wish of any 3 wishes. With that, they took as many Saiyans and people they could and departed, watching the earth get destroyed with tears in their eyes. They knew they had to repay their debts and wish Earth back. Once they arrived on Namek, they began searching for Nameks. They found Guru and explained the situation. Guru understood and helped them with pleasure, even offering to unlock their potentials. Saiyans graciously took the offer and then wished the Earth and the residents back to life. Since it can't be done in one wish, they had to use 2. With that, they left towards Earth. Once there, the Saiyans were to be split into the ones who will stay on Earth and the ones that will return to Sadala. Around 3/4 of the Saiyans went back to Sadala, much to the great surprise of the remainders. The ones on Sadala began to wipe the planet of Frieza's soldiers and then started helping others in need, while the rest on Earth got used to like Earth and stayed to help out for any cause. It's been another 3 years, and all our main characters have found their love of life. Kakarot accidentally bumped into Chi-Chi during the shopping spree and hit it off because Chi-Chi is a weird woman. Vegeta found Bulma during one of the conferences and they also hit it off, and being a great friend, he hooked Raditz up with Tights, Bulma's sister. Taro got interested in one other girl who he found on one of Roshi's parties Raditz and Kakarot went to, and that was Launch. He was intrigued with her sneezing transformations and they too hit it off as well. Every single one married in a time span, and also each one of them expected children. The happiness was kinda broken for a little while when the Red Ribbon Army attacked the city Saiyans resided in. Saiyans just threw them back into their pool of piss they came from, and Prince Vegeta, getting pissed at them, began to slaughter with a heavy heart. With one swipe of a hand, he shot what looked like 100 key waves and completely obliterated their base. He then left some army brats left till they ran out to their real headquarters, where even Dr. Gero resided in, and then wiped them out too out of sheer rage, sensing pure evil from within them. With that, the rock off of Prince's chest has fallen and he is at peace, hoping for it to last a long time. But troubles never evade the Dragon Ball world. Am I right, lads, or am I right, lads? Kakarot and Raditz are preparing for yet another Tenkaichi Budokai after so long, and this time as adults. However, when they arrive there, they sense a weird and familiar presence. Raditz looks up to see Piccolo and gets defensive as Piccolo comes up to him, telling him his revenge is finally in effect, as he will bring Raditz down for what he's done to his father. Raditz has confirmed his suspicions and is looking forward to see how the son fights. With that, the canon fights still happen and all, but instead of Raditz fighting Piccolo, it's Kakarot, and the new and reborn Piccolo does fairly good, but comes out defeated and shat on. Kakarot and Raditz then begin the final match, and this is the rematch of the last one. Now that they're both adults and are much more experienced in combat, being well known among humans, they can use their transformations, and they hit it off with a bang. Both Kakarot and Raditz go at it at massive speeds, which no one sees in the bleachers. They then transform, and now no one can even see them whatsoever unless they come to a standstill. Raditz and Goku stop for a moment and have a bit of a nostalgia attack. They continue the battle, and the fight is mostly double-sided, with both having their ups and downs, but eventually Raditz is taken over. Since Kakarot promised he's not gonna use any weird tricks, he's not draining Raditz dry. Raditz took his win and made it even with his brother, not only by that, but he also split the prize too. Before they can celebrate it, both of them received a call there's a distress signal on planet Namek and to send someone strong. They know their kids will arrive soon, so they decide to send Broly, being the most powerful. Broly arrives on Namek to see Frieza and his goons trying to wipe the whole planet of life. Broly knew their Dragon Balls revived Frieza and went to meet up with the Saiyans there. Having that done, Broly tells them they're all safe now and that he's come to the rescue. He tells them to get rid of his force, while he's taking on Frieza himself. Frieza sees Broly and immediately shits his pants, knowing Broly killed him, but still having hope, knowing he could just blow this planet up too. Broly asked why is he back after he destroyed and now restored Earth. Frieza was speechless to hear Earth is back to normal, so he got even more angry and attacked Broly then and there in his full power. Broly turned Super Saiyan and started fighting Frieza then and there. After a short skirmish, they come to a standstill. Frieza despises Broly and just wants to kill him. Meanwhile, Broly can't really help but laugh, telling Frieza this is his final end as the Frieza Force is about to disband any minute now. Frieza looks on just as one of the Saiyans throws a pool into the ground. Frieza gets his counter and tells the Ginyu Force to come this instant to take down the monkeys that gave him the hard time back on Earth. With Ginyu Force on their way, Frieza is feeling confident of the backup for his next survival, but he's taken down right after that with a punch from Broly so strong that the green aura of Broly's shot out and Frieza's head went flying, decapitating the tyrant. Broly threw a key wave at Frieza's body and then went for his head. Literally. He took it and saw Frieza's gaping eyes. Broly just let his head fall on the ground and kicked it so far into space with so much force it disintegrated mid-air. With that, Broly regrouped with the Saiyans from Sadala and told them to use Super Saiyan to combat the Ginyu Force, which they did when Broly left. Broly came back and was welcomed with Kakarot's wife in labor, with Vegeta, Tarbo, Bardock, Kakarot and Raditz waiting in a hospital waiting room. Broly said he succeeded with the task and that the threat is over. They all just thanked him for going there as backup and went to town impatiently waiting for the newborn. After hours and hours of waiting, we had the little one. Kakarot was first to become the father. When Bardock asked of the name for the baby boy, Kakarot looked back and forth a couple of times and decided to drop the old man's name and called him Saluri. Chi-Chi was actually quite fond of the name and kept at it. Even the little one liked his new name. It's been a long time of peace, 16 years to be exact, and a lot has happened. The reason behind this large time gap is because the androids don't exist since Jiro is long gone and no future people arriving in the timeline. Back to the kids talk, Vegeta has 2 children, Trunks and Bola. Kakarot got another kid called Kato. Raditz has 3 children and has taken Kakarot's opportunity for his child to call his son after the grandpa. They are called Bardock Jr., Saloom, and Kana. Tarbo also has a child, which he let his wife name, and the name is Suni. With all that, Saluri went to high school on demand of his mother, but still kept up with his training. One particular girl picked up an interest for him, which is, of course, Videl. They started hanging out and eventually dating. Videl is interested in Saluri's techniques and wants to be taught by him, so Saluri does teach her. Being a Saiyan, he has no remorse when training people and gets straight to the hardcore training. During one of their sessions, Videl mentions the up-and-coming Tenkaichi Budokai and suggests they fight there. Saluri accepts the proposal under the condition he can invite a bunch of his friends and family, to which Videl says sure. So his entire family, Vegeta and Tarbo, are in. He even managed to squeeze in Krillin, knowing Kakarot and Raditz will invite him too. 1 month later, they get to the tournament grounds and are met by yet unknown people. 2 weird alien-like people and 2 guys with M's on their foreheads. So you know what that means, alright? The tournament starts just like in canon, but Videl doesn't get folded. Rather, she folds Popovich. When it came time for Saluri to fight, his power was significantly lower than his canon counterpart Gohan, but he was still jumped and Kaioshin paralyzed him, also telling the squad what's happening and filling them in on Buu. The Saiyans are mad the gods actually brought their troubles on their planet, but decided to play along, thinking not much of it. Kakarot, Raditz and Vegeta went in to investigate alone, while Saluri is being healed. Once healed, Saluri and Videl went to where the Saiyans originally headed. They met up with the Saiyans at the outskirts and saw the 2 they met at the tournament handing over the thing they used to suck the energy out of Saluri to someone. Bardock told Raditz to go tell Broly about this and return with him, so he did. They just observed for now and assessed their power levels. They determined that the weakest is the boss and the 4 of them are his goons. So they came to a brilliant idea to kill the boss with a long-range beam. So Vegeta fires a death beam fast enough for the strong ones to not notice, but strong enough to kill the boss. The beam actually succeeds and of course they get spotted. With that, the fight for their lives is about to begin. With Babidi dead, they have to face Pui Pui and Dabura. The 2 goons dive into the ship and the Saiyans go with them. First to fight are Vegeta and Pui Pui, and he is dominated just like Android 18 dominates Krillin. Then Kakarot and Yakon, and that goes relatively the same as canon. And last but not least, Broly and Dabura. They fight and it is obvious Broly is winning. He wins over Dabura. They then have a conversation for a small bit. Shin starts thanking the trio that was inside for helping him stop the release of Buu, but it's too early to celebrate just yet. That last bit of energy that was needed to release Majin Buu was released and Buu is free. Buu sees no one but the squad in front of him are there and asks if they summon him, which they kind of confirmed. Buu then starts trashing the place. but despite Squad's best efforts to restrain him, he just can't stop. Vegeta begins reasoning with Buu, despite Shin telling him not to, as it would be pointless. Buu looked at Vegeta and mocked his hairline, which pissed Vegeta off a bit, but knowing if Buu attacks him, he won't be able to keep up, even with his full power. However, he looked at Broly, who was there, and nodded his head. Vegeta then commented his entire body color the same way Buu commented his hair, and that triggered Buu a lot, as he started fuming up. Vegeta just says he did a reverse scenario and not to get pissed off by a joke. Buu then calmed down, but proceeded to go into town to destroy it. Broly noticed him and went straight in front of him with such speed that Buu got scared. He told him not to go into the city until they know he won't do anything. Buu got triggered by it and attacked Broly, but Broly simply caught his fist. Buu then went ahead and surprise attacked Broly by turning him into candy. Kaioshin said he's the hottest candy around here, and if Buu wants to eat him, better cool him down. Otherwise, to turn him back to normal. Buu didn't listen and proceeded to eat him. As Buu did that, Vegeta's aura exploded as Buu was slowly getting disintegrated by the intense heat he was emitted from just pure rage. Letting his ki explode, he forms a yellow aura with lightning as he prepares his final flash. Vegeta does little to no effect, and Buu is now triggered at Vegeta. So Vegeta gets thrown around like a pebble all over the place. Kaioshin attempts to freeze Buu in place much like he did to Celery. And it works, so he tells Vegeta to fire his Galley gun at him. But Vegeta has other plans. Inside his palms is candified Broly, and Vegeta then begins to taunt Buu, in hopes he will flash his beam at him again. Buu does so and Vegeta throws Candy Broly at him. Broly returns to normal with a spectacular light show. Broly screams bloody murder as he transforms in a level way beyond their normal Super Saiyan. Not only is he in his legendary green form, but he's slightly fitter, his hair is spikier, and he has sparks all around him. His power jumped up by at least 2 times, as said by Vegeta. Broly's irises are gone, and he's looking at Buu. Buu proceeds to turn him into candy, but Broly's power is so massive that his fists are covered with ki when he threw a punch. The beam reflected towards Buu, basically engulfing him in his own attack and turning him into candy. Broly wasn't done yet as he proceeded to beat the shit out of that candy before finally blasting it away. Buu is gone, but Broly is still destructive and does plenty of damage before getting tired out and going unconscious. Vegeta and Kakarot take him back into town to heal up, with Kaioshin thanking them for helping, not knowing they could be so powerful as a race as a whole, and would like to get to know them better for the future, knowing their status as the ones who save societies for a living. Shin leaves and Broly wakes up confused, wanting to know what happened after being hit by Buu's blast. Vegeta just said he saved the Earth all by himself. Broly is still confused and Kakarot continues the story. Broly then knows that he needs to hone whatever form he just accessed and get control of it. It's been roughly 9 months after Buu and everyone is mostly chilling, and Bulma decided to host a massive birthday party while Vegeta is training with Trunks and Bola, which both got Super Saiyan much to Vegeta's confusement. The party took place on a cruiser and every Saiyan that is friends with Bulma is there, enjoying their time, having a few drinks, and eating their body weight a bunch of times. However, a certain cat wakes up, knowing he forgot the dream and asking his assistant. He doesn't know either, so they go do what destroyers do best, and that is destroy a bunch of planets. During one of the destruction acts, in a blast, Beerus sees the foe from the dream and remembers the name, being the Super Saiyan God. So he asks Whis of the location, and Whis says some are on their planet home Sadala and some on Earth and around the Earth's solar system. Beerus and Whis then visit Sadala and question the Saiyans, but to no avail. Even with threatening, they have never heard of a Super Saiyan God or where he is. So Beerus heads down to Earth for better luck. On Earth, Kaioshin warns our friends of Beerus and how he's coming this way and not to provoke him at all costs. Just as everyone agreed, Beerus arrived along with Whis. While Whis was kind to meet the Saiyans, Beerus was eager to fight the Super Saiyan God and went straight to the point, then threatened the lives on Earth. Vegeta was mortified that someone would destroy a civilization for something so petty and pointless. So they have to search for a Super Saiyan God. They looked at Broly and thought he might be the thing Beerus is looking for. So Broly accepts Beerus' challenge and transforms into his full power. Not going further beyond though, as he still can't quite control his full power. Either way, they initiate a battle, and it's clear Broly can't really quite keep up yet. But the angrier he gets, and the more he fights, the more he can keep up, much to the great surprise of others, confirming to us false information as they think Broly is the god. Broly finally snaps and goes into his full power, catching Beerus off guard and properly beating him up in this twist of events. Beerus is managing the fight now and is trying to keep up, but the more he hits Broly, the stronger Broly gets. The fight is then taken into outer space. However, Broly can't really breathe in space, so they have to take it down to atmosphere level, where they continue the battle. Broly lost his energy, however, due to the time span he fought in, and started falling towards Earth. Beerus wasn't impressed and wants a real Super Saiyan God, or he destroys Earth. Vegeta suggests getting a real answer from Shenron, which is conveniently the grand prize. So Bulma goes to get the Dragon Balls and they summon Shenron. Shenron gives out the truth, and so they ask for a Super Saiyan God. Shenron disappoints but tells them of the ritual, finally jogging their ancient memory. They have hope and they get the recipe. Broly, now healed, volunteers to take the Super Saiyan God as he's the strongest there, and everyone agrees. So they begin the ritual, which they actually do properly this time, with no shortage of Saiyans, of course. And after a nice light show, the ritual is complete, and we have a Super Saiyan God Broly. With that, we have a Super Saiyan God Broly going against Beerus the Destroyer. Broly felt extremely calm, but he knew he was surging with power. Beerus was amazed at Broly's power and is slightly regretting his decision to fight a Super Saiyan God, but they start regardless. The fight began much like in canon, with Broly adapting to the immense speed and strength of his new form. This went on for a while until Broly began landing proper punches on Beerus, which threw Beerus back. Broly then decided to kick it up a notch and turn it up to 20% of his power, which caught Beerus by surprise, and so Beerus was forced to use more power to combat the legendary Saiyan. Beerus then got caught up with Broly and started going blow for blow and moving up in a higher atmosphere as they continued the battle. In the sky, Broly adapted much quicker with each blasting blow and started to feel more and more power coursing through his body. Broly then began exerting more power and started pummeling Beerus. Beerus is kinda regretting his decisions and decides to attack with even more power. As the both revealed more and more of their power, they went further up into the sky to prevent damage to the earth and then landed blow after blow towards each other. Beerus then prepared destruction blasts to throw at Broly, and Broly dealt with them with ease. But when it came to a much bigger single blast, Broly had to use more energy than he needs. Broly also disposed of that blast and then proceeded to power up to 50% and punch Beerus a new one. Beerus was taken aback by the sudden surge of ki from Broly and wondered how far can Broly go, powering up himself. At this point, they just went back and forth until Broly reached his limit, while Beerus was around 30 or so percent. Beerus noticed Broly speak, but then saw Broly is still growing in power the more he fights. Broly then started losing his Super Saiyan God power and reverted back to a regular Super Saiyan. Broly noticed that and realized he's still keeping up, so Broly went Legendary Super Saiyan and continued the battle. Beerus was surprised Broly could exert this much ki even after the loss of his power, but decided to roll with it. Beerus was pushed to almost 60%, but Broly's surprises didn't end there as he snapped once again, going into his legendary Super Saiyan 2 and getting that power needed to put Beerus down. At this point, the whole universe is at stake, because now the two titans had to land blows perfectly coordinated with a space and time web as to prevent any damage to the universe. Broly got back to his senses while maintaining his legendary Super Saiyan 2 form, and then continued to fight more coordinated and with more precision in his punches and kicks. Beerus tried everything, but to his surprise he got surpassed by the Super Saiyan God, and Beerus was at his peak power. Beerus was surprised and wondered how far can he push Broly, so Beerus calms down and focuses, emitting a silverish aura as his eyes go silver, achieving Ultra Instinct Omen and dodging Broly's attacks. Broly got pissed off because of that and went back to his Berserker mode and continued doing everything he can, but to no avail. Broly then realizes what Beerus has done, being calm and all, and then proceeds to calm his legendary Super Saiyan 2 power as well and maintaining his full power, basically mastering the form. Now Broly has his own advantage and proceeded to use it. At the end, Beerus reverted back and was very satisfied with the battle, and that he was the fighter worth dreaming and fighting of. Broly went back to his base too and accepted a compliment, gaining the respect of both the Destroyer and Angel. They both descend on Earth, obviously tired out, and are talking to each other about their battle and Beerus' Ultra Instinct he displayed. Broly got interested in that technique and would like to get trained by him to get it and test his limits. Beerus said not to ask him anything but his attendant, and Broly does so. Whis tells him that he really is interested in Saiyans and would love to add a couple to his training list, much to Beerus' confusion and amazement, asking Whis if he's actually sure. Obviously he's scared for his title. Whis said not to worry and that he got this in the bag. From there, they just talk and share stories amongst each other. Beerus mentions Frieza's name, and Broly said he killed him twice already, amazing Beerus even more. Beerus told him how Frieza used to work for him in the past, but everything disbanded and now he's in hell, living his nightmares all over again. With that, Whis gives them all an open invite to train with him, and Broly is a no-brainer for him. Bardock and Kakarot are interested almost immediately. Vegeta would like to go for a bit, since he can't really leave his society being the king. The rest say they can due to some errands or something, which gives Vegeta an idea. Vegeta asks Trunks to lead the people, but Trunks is too busy, so the next option would be Bola, and she accepts it with no question. And so the squad goes off into space to train. It's been 6 months since they last trained, and the whole squad made remarkable progress. Broly got the Super Saiyan God power on his own and is on his way to perfect it and reach a new level, while the rest are training to get some new forms, like Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan God themselves. During their training, the Frieza Force made a really sophisticated plan to revive Frieza, and so they're already on Namek. They collected all 7 Dragon Balls and summoned Porunga. They had an Namekian in their group to revive Frieza in the Namekian tongue, and it succeeds, as they leave as quickly as they came. With that, in space, the Frieza Force has gotten introduced to Frieza again, some for the first time. Frieza swears to kill the entirety of the Saiyan race and whoever steps in his way. So he grabs a couple of goons and commands them to train with him to gain strength. So with that, he gets a new form and a lot of power in those 4 months he's been training for. Meanwhile, with our Saiyans, they all managed to get above and beyond Super Saiyan God, going into a form they called Super Saiyan Blue. They decided to continue training for that Ultra Instinct Beerus displayed during the fight with Broly. However, Bulma called him up using the device Whis gave her. She forwarded him how Frieza is back at it again, well and alive. Broly got angered by his revival again and questioned himself, when is this lizard gonna stop coming back from the dead and stay dead? So the whole squad asked Whis to take them to Earth to combat the tyrant, and Whis does so. On Earth, Jocko says there's only a matter of time Frieza arrives, and they have to get ready for it. The Saiyans come to Earth with only few minutes to spare as they sense Frieza's energy coming their way towards Earth. Frieza arrives, but his plan isn't really to fight, but to destroy Earth, so Frieza attempts to do so, but his Death Ball is repelled into space by none other than Broly. Frieza tells Broly to go kick some other bucket, because this time he'd like to fight someone else. Just as he says that, Bardock of all people rushes Frieza into Super Saiyan Blue and punches right through the tyrant. Frieza is gasping for air, and Bardock quoted Frieza's words he spoke not even 5 seconds ago, then gave him a small speech about him being the weakest but ended up destroying the one who was brought back from the dead so many times, advising him to stay dead. And with that, Frieza died right there and was ki blasted on the spot to fully destroy him. Our friends went back to Beerus' world to train, and this time joined by Soluri as well. Saiyans went back to train on Beerus' world. On there, they eventually meet an unknown cat, who we find out is Champa. Beerus is awoken from their babbling, and then Champa tells Beerus he has food, which will be hard to resist for him. Beerus' interest speaks, and he lets his brother show him. Beerus tries those eggs, and they're nothing special, so Beerus whips out the ramen, and, well, Champa proposes a tournament to see who gets to planet Earth, and they both agree. The Saiyans are so very excited, they also propose that it should be like a Tenkaichi Budokai on Earth, and tells them all the rules. With that, the tournament is set. They go back to Earth to find more fighters, and they find them. Raditz is the only one capable enough for it, and so he's in since they don't need anyone else on their team. Now when they have all the fighters, they are ready quite fast, but Champa is still looking for his contestants. Skipping a bit ahead, the time for the tournament is already there. 5 Saiyans then depart to Universe 6 along with their families. They arrive on an unknown planet, and Champa is already there with food in hand. They begin the tournament. First to fight is of course Kakarot and Botamo, and he wins in a similar fashion of the original, except he didn't set in his meal first. He just went for it. But on the other hand, he just prolonged the fight for a bit longer. Next up is Frost against Kakarot, and Kakarot points out that Frost looks just like Frieza, but the personality seemingly looks a whole lot different. For now at least. Kakarot and Frost begin their fights, and the second it starts, Kakarot berates Frost for not using his final form. Frost abides by that and goes full power. Kakarot can now finally use something more than the base form. He then goes head to head with Frost, and Frost is landing pretty powerful punches. Kakarot then gets dizzy all of a sudden, falls out of Super Saiyan and faints. Everyone in the bleachers are surprised that Kakarot, the one who is one of the most powerful among them, can fall just like that. Kakarot then wakes up and Frost tries to raise his hand like in the original, but Kakarot knows what he's done and whips his arm away. He looks at his arm and sees a bloody spot and then shouts out Frost has an unfair advantage. Jonko then examines Frost and finds a poison needle. Frost is then disqualified, and it's also revealed that Frost is just as Frieza, but a bit smarter. So that means Kakarot is back in the tournament. Next up is Magetta, and Kakarot takes him on pretty much the same way as Vegeta did in the original, but without the pride fit. Then Cabba's turn is up, and Cabba says he can't go Super Saiyan. So Kakarot tells Cabba exactly what to do, because he himself has told many Saiyans the same thing over and over again, and so Cabba transforms successfully. Cabba charged at Kakarot, and they both seem to get their mark. After a bit of fighting, they come to a standstill. Kakarot asked him to try doing it again, and Cabba transformed successfully. Kakarot then went Super Saiyan 3, which he's caught up while training with Whis, to show him the full extent of the Super Saiyan transformation, and knocked out Cabba, and also told him to train hard before he tapped out. With that, Kakarot has gotten his first student instead of Vegeta. Last fighter was none other than Hit, and Kakarot was so ready to fight him. Kakarot went Super Saiyan and started to attack Hit, but that didn't even faze the assassin. Kakarot then went Super Saiyan God and started to fight him again, but even with a considerable increase in strength, he stood no chance. Kakarot then went Super Saiyan Blue, and only then he grabbed an edge. Hit then did an improvement, and he managed to increase his time skip he likes to use so much, and started bullying Kakarot. After Kakarot had enough, he became desperate with Beerus and Champa lifting the tournament rules, not wanting to die and all, surpassing the Super Saiyan Blue and going into his evolution. Hit then had no chance against now overpowered Kakarot. Vegeta and pretty much the rest of the Saiyans were unimpressed with Kakarot's performance. With a simple right hook to the time skip, Kakarot knocked him out from the tournament. The bleachers on Universe 7 side were raving. The Saiyans started joking how they weren't even needed here, as he won very easily. But Kakarot was more amused of his new transformation he has reached. Beerus and Champa eventually got into an argument, but before they can do damage, Zeno appeared and was slightly mad he didn't get to see the whole fight. The Saiyans have finally noticed everyone is trembling with fear, but they are as confused as to why that child is so dangerous. Zeno then asked why they didn't invite him to the fight, so he can see it. Beerus was cowering with fear and could barely speak, but then Kakarot, Vegeta, Celery, and Bardock appeared behind them and, with respect, asked him if he'd like to host another tournament, and Zeno was more than happy. He even showed compassion towards the 4 daring Saiyans. After Zeno left, they were berated by Beerus, of course. They said they knew, they just proposed it, and then turns out they succeeded. They return back home, and the first thing they do is train on Beerus' planet. Back on Earth, everyone was just chilling when a time machine appeared out of nowhere. They opened up the machine and set future Vegeta on the table so he regains consciousness. Kakarot and Vegeta are informed, and so Whis then took them there. Future Vegeta regained consciousness and then hyperventilated a little, but after seeing that it's not his timeline, he calmed down. Whis, Beerus, Vegeta, Celery, Bardock, and Kakarot arrived, and future Vegeta mistook Broly for someone else and attacked him, but to no effect. Kakarot then smacked him on his head, and Vegeta came to his senses and apologized. He then explained what happened to his timeline. He said an unknown rival has appeared out of nowhere apparently, breaking the peace they had, and how some of the Saiyan alliance on Earth caught a heart virus, and the only few that remained were himself, Bardock, and a Saiyan called Nappa. They tried to put resistance on this foe, but he unveiled a new form for the villain, called Super Saiyan Rose. They had no chance and had to retreat to hide and save the survivors. But even though they're trying their best, the days are running out very fast. The only survivors left are his wife and himself. Everyone else is either heavily injured or dead. Broly had a hard time taking it all in, but decided to roll with it, not believing what future Vegeta meant. Kakarot went straight to theorizing about Frieza wishing for the strongest Saiyan body for a temporary amount of time and avenging his father and force. Whis certainly believed so, but also said how that is only possible if the hosts don't have much of a power gap, and how anything further must be wished with the Super Dragon Balls from the tournament Champa held. Considering the point in time, you all know where this is going. Broly Black appears from his rift. Whis notices a strange anomaly on the Menace's index finger, that being the time ring, and takes into consideration a possibility of them being a Supreme Kai. Beerus also notices that and feels the key of Black. He mentions it feels awfully similar for some reason, with Whis confirming. Kakarot absorbs all of this in and comes up to the conclusion that it might be some corrupt Kai if that's the case. With that, Broly and Black are going up against each other. Broly goes Super Saiyan Blue and initiates a fight. Broly turns Super Saiyan Blue and starts trashing Black for a while. Black then abuses his powers and gets a boost. Black gets stronger with every blow. After a bit, the rift starts reacting and starts pulling Broly Black through, but he still continues to fight and observe. Broly then starts trashing Black once again. Time Rift reacts again and starts pulling Black through again, but before he gets pulled through, he destroys the time machine. With that, Broly Black is gone. Future Vegeta is mad because the time machine is gone and they're thinking on how they're going to repair it. But then Bulma says she might have a chance at repairing it because she's actually doing that project herself. And so she goes and starts repairing it. While Bulma is repairing the machine, Whis observes just how it works since he's interested in how mortals manage to tamper with time with only technology. This is also the time for Zeno to invite the 4 Saiyans he made a deal with to come over to discuss exactly that. The 4 have only as much time to go get some professional Saiyan clothes, since they did get berated by Beerus for that matter. Bulma took a break from getting the time machine to work and gave them both an Earth tuxedo to look decent for the Omni King. The two then go with the Kaioshin, with Broly ripping up his suit. Daishinkan leads them into Zeno's palace and everything goes smoothly. Arriving at Zeno's, Zeno immediately rushes to greet the squad. Shin is fainting and Whis is just observing, and the Saiyans, although shitting themselves, come to the conclusion that Zeno isn't actually all that bad, and all that he needs is fun around him and he's cool. The tournament is set and Daishinkan is beginning to prepare the rules. Kakarot proposes it's like an Earth Tenkaichi Budokai, explaining the rules while at it. Zeno agrees and Daishinkan agrees with Zeno. With all that, they're dismissed with Daishinkan saying he will visit the Kaioshin realm shortly to explain the rules to the Kais. They go straight to Kaioshin's realm then and there. Bulma mentions that the time machine is done, with Shin shitting himself even more, asking what's it about, and Whis rehearsed everything to the Kai. Not long after, Daishinkan arrives and explains the rules, and well, they have something to fight for other than Zeno's pleasure, their own universe. Seeing that they have no other choice, they agree on the said rules and Daishinkan leaves. Vegeta mentions they have to think fast because they now have two problems on their shoulders as they go straight for Earth. On Earth, they all do their last bit of preparation. Both Vegetas and Broly enter the machine and depart from there. They enter the future timeline and they all see the carnage that happened there. They then go underground to regroup, and on their way there, soldiers fired guns at Broly, thinking it's Black, but after the situation was explained, they calmed down. Vegeta then saw Mai is still alive, but critically injured from distracting Broly Black. Vegeta then asked Broly for a senzu bean, and when he got one, he did the same thing Trunks did to Mai in the original. Vegeta then shouted for everyone to move, and he dropped a capsule which revealed an all-you-can-eat buffet for the people in the room. Everyone enjoyed it and thanked Vegeta. From there, they had no time to waste. They have to assess Black's power, so they go to find him. They shoot a blast to signal to come back, and Black is there in a second. They share a small stare down and then begin the fight. Vegeta goes first and displays Super Saiyan Blue and starts staring Black a new one. Black is having fun getting punched while Vegeta is making fun of him. Black then shows his Super Saiyan Rose and then introduces Vegeta to the ground. Broly then steps up with the Super Saiyan Blue and rushes Black. He starts staring Black a new one due to his power being plenty of times stronger. Black is hopeless in this situation until someone arrives, that someone being Zamasu, and the two start bickering who is supposed to kill which Saiyan. Broly ignores the new foe and attacks Black, still holding his own. Future Vegeta now has hope they'll win, but before the whole celebration, Black starts slowly catching up to Broly with his abuse of Zenkai, as Broly is losing his edge in a fight as well as energy. Black then overpowers Broly and sends him flying into a building. Future Vegeta and Black share a small stare down, and with it they go and fight. Of course, he can't do anything, but still tries. Future Vegeta gets back up and tells the Saiyans that they need to leave and to prepare to fight again back in the past. And they do so. Back in the present timeline, they inform Whis about the situation and they get the intel needed. Whis notes how Black had a time ring, and with that, Whis, Beerus and Vegeta go investigate. In the meantime, Broly is planning the next battle. He takes into consideration Black's misuse of Zenkai and Zamasu's immortality. Back to Vegeta, they arrive at Universe 10's World of Kais. Zamasu goes to greet them. Whis then explains the situation, but subtly. Vegeta then asks for a sparring match, and he gets it, knocking Zamasu down with one punch using Super Saiyan Blue. Zamasu now vows to get rid of the mortals and to use the strongest body while at it. They then leave. Beerus, Whis and Vegeta then stop on Beerus' world. Whis has been waiting on him to continue the training along with Kakarot, who has transformed to Super Saiyan Blue evolution along with the rest of the Saiyans, as Kakarot figured it out as promised and already taught it to the others. Broly is then also taught that form, and they then go to the time chamber to hone their skills. After about 2 days, they emerge from the chamber and they all go to Capsule Corp. Bulma readies the machine and they go back to the future. They of course see Carnage, and they sense Black right away, as well as Zamasu. Zamasu senses them too and rush to them. They then begin the fight, and this time Vegeta and Broly are first and they go fight Black. Kakarot and Bardock attack Zamasu. They're going at it. Energy is violent and destroys the buildings. Vegeta and Broly are handling Black pretty good even without evolution, while Black is having major problems with them. For the first time, we see fear in the Kai's eyes. Kakarot came prepared, as he had a trick up his sleeves. His plan was to split Zamasu from Black and then contain him using an ancient technique which Roshi taught him back on Earth prior to the trip to the future. Broly helped him get Zamasu away from Black, and then they performed the technique. They sealed the jar with a spell as Vegeta took care of Black. It was easier said than done, as Vegeta had to whip out his Super Saiyan Blue evolution to combat Black. But Black's power grew so fast that Vegeta was found by Broly on the ground, gasping for air. Broly then realized he has to fight himself, because no one has the same potential as him. So he went to fight his counterfeit, with Kakarot and his fighter joining in. The trio managed to wipe the floor with him using Super Saiyan Blue evolution. Black had no way out, even with pushing his limits like Saiyans usually do. But he was met with a speech from Broly. He explained to Black that he can't use his Saiyan cells to the fullest because he doesn't know that new body of his, as he never used it. And just like that, Black was defeated. Once Black felt weak and unable to continue, Broly then finished Black off. With that, the future got saved completely, so no future Zeno or any of this BS. They get back using future Vegeta's time machine and say their goodbyes. With Black out of the picture, they are ready to begin the Tournament of Power. They take into consideration the fighters they met so far, and considering the mortal level is higher since Saiyans and other extinct races are still alive, it's boosted by a high margin. So they skip that and are notified of the time and place, to which they begin rushing the plans and getting the required 10 warriors to participate. Bardock thinks logically and says they do have 40 hours, and that's plenty to think of since they already have the best fighters on Earth. They begin with the brains, which is Vegeta, Bardock, and Roshi. They say Roshi because he's wiser than our Saiyans and much older, knowing he has a lot more knowledge and tricks up his sleeves compared to them, not needing to adapt during battle. So Bardock, Vegeta, Roshi, Kakarot, and Raditz are in. They also take a new recruit known as Tien. His techniques were really interesting to say the least, and so he's in. He's also Roshi's student. Kakarot remembers someone and goes to meet him, knowing his key signature. He visits Piccolo and shares a small talk before Piccolo attacks. Piccolo beefed up quite a lot and is being a nuisance for Super Saiyan 2 Kakarot, but Super Saiyan 3 proves stronger as Piccolo drops down. Kakarot then tells him about the tournament and Piccolo declines at first, but after knowing the grand prize, he is reluctantly in. Vegeta hires Broly too because of his high base power and then trains him to reach Super Saiyan 3 in meantime. Gine then steps up, wanting to be in the tournament too. Bardock said not to do it because she'll only get killed, but Gine then transforms into Super Saiyan God, to the amazement of everyone. Although massively weaker than them, she might be of great help. Gine then explained how she actually got the form. She knew the ritual and so tried with her own friends, and it actually worked. In that time, she figured out that key she had no clue of and started to maintain it to the best of her ability. She eventually got it down and transformed herself. Bardock hugged her and accepted her in. One more fighter remaining, and they're bickering with random fighters, but settle on Fasha as she has a massive base power, but never knew how to get the Super Saiyan transformation down. So in those 15 hours they had left, they all taught her how to go far beyond of what she expected. She knew Super Saiyan 3 will only drag her down, so she had a plan for the Tournament of Power. With that, we have our 10 fighters and they're all ready to go. In the Null Realm, they wait on the rest of the warriors as they slowly gather up. But one catches Vegeta's and Bardock's attention. Jiren is waiting on a tournament and is impatient to win and go home. Meanwhile, Universe 6 Saiyans come over and start trash talking our Saiyans, because remember, they're actually the bad ones here, and they start trash talking them for being bitches. But Kakarot went over to them and told them by being bitches, they became stronger more than they could imagine. That triggered the Universe 6 Saiyans and they start arguing. But before it can go physical, the tournament starts, and Universe 6 is on Universe 7 in seconds because of the skirmish that happened amongst them before. Even with all the fighting, the Universe 7 came up victorious, simply because Gine was left alone to deal with them. So he jumped straight to Super Saiyan God and threw each and every one of them out like pebbles. Caulifla went and attempted to throw a blast from the bleachers, but got destroyed quickly by Zeno. Frost was there too, and Kakarot didn't hold back either, going into Super Saiyan Blue and threw him out as well. Frost went to throw a blast much like Caulifla, but he got destroyed, along with the entire Universe 6. Vegeta is going up against Jiren, but eventually loses all his stamina and energy and faints. Jiren is about to throw him off the ring, but Kakarot sees this and prevents Jiren from doing so. Kakarot is then knocked out almost instantly and Vegeta is thrown off of the arena. The rest of the Saiyans then charge up at Jiren and are trying to take revenge, and although Jiren is worn out, he still can't keep up with Broly and Raditz. Eventually, the Saiyans start losing a lot of energy and also losing hope. Raditz puts all his shit aside and starts transforming into Super Saiyan 3 and attacking Jiren with all he's got, but is put down after a failed attempt. Jiren then prepares to knock them all off to claim victory, but Kakarot opens his eyes as he accesses autonomous Ultra Instinct, followed by a really nice and big ass light show. Jiren, having no time to play around, tries to put Kakarot back down, but Kakarot dodges and is actually doing pretty good, landing a gut punch on Jiren strong enough that Jiren is gasping for air. As Kakarot is looking at this new power of his, he rushes and kicks Jiren in the chest, making Jiren gasp for air again, but losing his power at the exact moment as well. Fasha sees what's going on and attempts her transformation. She whips out the power ball and goes Great Ape, then goes Golden, and then transforms into something completely new called a Super Saiyan 4. She intervenes with her Super Saiyan 4 and goes at Jiren. Jiren is a bit worn out but still prideful he can win. Fasha has no chance at her current state as she saw Kakarot laying there, catching some air from the Ultra Instinct transformation. That gave Fasha a thought how Kakarot found a new power all on his own, and if Kakarot did it, so can she. That was actually the push she needed to go Super Saiyan 5. She fought Jiren with all she's got and made a mark. However, it didn't really last long as Jiren put her ass down on the ground again as she went unconscious. At this point, everyone is unconscious and barely able to stand, so with one simple motion, Jiren knocked everyone out of the boundaries. But before anything, they all gave their energy to Kakarot, and Kakarot vowed to keep their promises, going straight for Super Saiyan Blue evolution as he started to battle Jiren. Kakarot figured out this ain't gonna work, even for a tired out Jiren, as Jiren manages to land a very strong punch, which put Kakarot down and out of the arena. But Kakarot gave his energy to Fasha before he fell. So Fasha wakes up and sees that she's the only one there. Fasha then realizes what Ultra Instinct is all about. Focusing, she gets into Ultra Instinct, much to the amazement of the gods, and decides to just roll with it. This Omen is vastly more powerful than Kakarot's Omen since it's actually controlled, and with that she starts with offense, as she wants to master it fully and also to figure out how to access the form on her own. Jiren then powers up a little as Fasha gets pushed into a corner really fast. She's now starting to fight back violently as her attacks deal more and more damage to the alien. Jiren pushes Fasha off and is trying to hold his own, but Fasha finally realized the trick to it as Jiren throws a massive ki blast at Fasha. The ki pressure Fasha is generating and her energy in general makes a galaxy-like shape as she cancels out Jiren's attack. With that, we see Fasha with her silver hair and a very hot aura. She has mastered Ultra Instinct as she starts handling Jiren like he's nothing. Jiren is trying hard, but Fasha isn't letting him go that easy. They're getting evenly matched as Jiren is closing in on his full power. They then get to the standstill and Fasha speaks in favor of everyone that this power she harnesses right now is the effect of her friends and family waiting on Earth. Jiren responds with a blast towards the bleachers to try and assert his dominance as he doesn't believe in the friends or family. Fasha realizes the fast and gets there, deflects it, and pissed as hell, rushes at Jiren with full force. She doesn't waste time like Goku in the original, she just pummels Jiren into the ground. Fasha gives a speech to Jiren before eliminating him from the tournament, but before anything can happen, Fasha loses his Master Ultra Instinct power as her body gives in and experiences a spasm. That was a chance for Jiren to eliminate Fasha, but Bardock comes out of nowhere and powered up to his fullest power possible. Bardock then rushed Jiren and did everything he could to knock him out, momentarily going into Super Saiyan Blue evolution, while Fasha is laying there on the ground. Bardock gave all he could to defeat Jiren and to get him out of the boundaries. Even if he gets eliminated himself, he took the chance. Fasha looked on to master plan Bardock's savers and rolls with it, assisting Bardock with stray ki blasts to confuse Jiren while Bardock takes care of business. Due to Jiren being completely worn out, he lost the battle and Bardock fell in the void with him, leaving Fasha alone on the battleground 2 minutes before the end. With nothing else to do, Daishinkan comes over and announces the winner and asks of a wish. With all the Saiyans thinking about their own things, well, most of them talking about, the universe going back, Fasha speaks up saying she wants all the universes back to be restored back into existence. With Daishinkan telling her it's a wise choice, he summons the Super Shenron and restores all the universes with the help of it. With that, we have the winners of the Tournament of Power and they return back to their normal lives. The Broly saga never happens because we already have Broly and Frieza is still in his hell.